Warning. You are entering a restricted area. Return to where you came from, or be destroyed.
You're heading your way towards the useless nerdy knowledge. Please do not go any further. If you will not comply, you will hear a nerd rambling.
Nerd alert!
Get those nerds! Nerd! 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 Exterminate!
Hello once again, fellow podcast listeners. My name is Ben, and I'm here talking about Halloween Ends that came out not too long ago. As of this recording, I saw it just a couple days ago, actually, and saw it on Friday night, dressed up as Michael Myers once again. And, to be completely honest, I'll try and do the absolute best I can with not spoiling too much, because, the movie's only been out for a couple of days, but still have a feeling people are going to spoil it regardless, and people are going to probably see it anyway. But before I do get into that, I'll just talk about this whole Halloween trilogy real quick. So, obviously, the Halloween series has took like a bit of a weird type of spiral in the series, because like the first one started out like absolutely like fresh and scary in a way, is like no one had ever seen it back then in 1978. The sequel in 1981 basically obviously took place in the same night. It was a bit different, but still kind of took the same effect. The third one trying to go in a new direction with the anthology series, but it didn't really go anywhere because Michael Myers was not in it. Then the fourth one, fans got what they wanted. He returned, and that's kind of what they got. Fifth one, sequel to that, absolutely atrocious, and it was rushed beyond belief, and nobody really likes it. And as for the sixth one, The Curse of Michael Myers, it was so horrendous that it needed two different cuts, a producer's cut and a director's cut. So they scrapped all the previous movies from 3 through 6, and they started to do a reboot, basically, like a sequel reboot, called Halloween H20, basically referring to 20 years after the very first Halloween. Brought back Jamie Lee Curtis, and it was a decent enough sequel. Not great, but it was passable. Sequel after that was even more horrendous, and nobody liked Halloween Resurrection. Then, of course, Rob Zombie decided to reboot the movies and giving his own sequel. People are mostly mixed on that. And with the Halloween movie that came out in 2018, just simply called Halloween, is a direct sequel to the very first Halloween, ignoring all the other movies previous, except for the first. Now, I'll start the whole beginning, like basically with this new Halloween trilogy that started in 2018. So obviously there have been like talks about it with Jamie Lee Curtis returning for Halloween again. And of course, in the previous Halloween movies, it's been acknowledged that Michael and Laurie Strode were separated. They were siblings, basically. Like Michael was hunting down his sister. But John Carpenter never really liked that idea, so for the sequel reboot of the 2018 Halloween, they basically said, nope, she's no longer the sister, just some unknown girl that has no relation. And I'm fine with that, whatever. And so when I first saw Halloween 2018, it was great. It was terrifying, it was spooky, it was great, brought back some nostalgic memories, it was really good. And then, of course, with Halloween Kills that came out in 2021, it was delayed thanks to 2020, and it wasn't really as good as the first, by no means at all. And with Halloween Ends, that literally came out 1 year after it, well, I don't know. Let's just start over and just start with the first Halloween, which is basically the first in this timeline story. Obviously, Laurie Strode, she was attacked by Michael Myers in 1978 and presumably traumatized from it. So it explains in the 2018 sequel that 40 years later, Michael Myers was captured and basically has been in Smith's Grove for the past 40 years. And as you can tell, if you see in this movie, he's pretty old. A little camera shy, of course, and I like it for that. I like how they don't reveal Michael's face all too much. So basically, what do you think happens? He escapes, of course, and goes on a killing spree yet again with the same boiler outfit and the William Shatner mask and all that. And that's pretty much it. Of course, Laurie, knows eventually that like Michael has escaped, and basically she's trying to hunt him down, and then tries to trap Michael within her house, basically, setting it aflames. And even though there's been so many times where he's been on fire, but it never kills him. So then in the sequel, Halloween Kills. Now, when I first saw Halloween Kills in theaters, I didn't exactly like it. But then, of course, thankfully, when it came to DVD and Blu-ray, there was an extended cut. Yes, an extended cut. And it's slightly better than the theatrical version. I'll explain why. So, I remember describing, talking about my review on this about a year ago on when I saw Halloween Kills in theaters, where it was just boring, and it still is in a way. The theatrical cut only basically helps out with certain stuff that they couldn't show in theaters, basically giving an unrated cut, I guess you would say. Because there's one scene where a guy gets his eyes popped out of his skull with from Michael. There's like another certain scene that was cut, I believe showing the morgue in the hospital. And the ending actually was a little bit more satisfying than the theatrical one. Basically what I mean by that is that at the end, Laurie Strode's daughter, Karen, basically gets killed at the end, and then it just ends like that. We see her dead body lying on the ground, and that's it. Nothing else. And the way it ended really pissed me off, because I was like, what? This is how it ends? I was literally like, this is how it ends? Like, I know that John Carpenter is known for his lackluster, abrupt endings that happen. Like, that happens a lot. Like, in They Live, The Thing, and all that stuff. It's left to your imagination. It's like, I get it, but after, watching Halloween Kills and not seeing a whole lot of screen time and having so many really boring, lame scenes in this movie, it didn't work. But thankfully, with the theatrical cut on Blu-ray and DVD, they did manage to actually tie up the loose end a little bit. So it extends it to where, you show Karen's body. They kind of pan over to the left of, seeing her cell phone go off and Laurie trying to call her. And then I believe Michael picks up, you hear him breathing and all that. And basically, Laurie's all, I'm coming for you, Michael. And, we see her, coming towards the camera, going past people in the hospital, holding a knife in her hand. It's kind of funny because I even realized that nothing happened after that scene. It was just, I guess, a satisfying enough endings to shut people up, like me, I don't know. And now, here we are at Halloween Ends. And, well, what can I say about it? Well, first of all, let's get the title out of the way. Halloween Ends. There's been so much talk about this supposedly being the quote-unquote final Halloween movie. And as we all know, with any horror movie, with any franchise, with any slasher villain ever, anything that says final or the end or whatever, anything to relate itself to ending or anything like that, it's never the end. It never is. There's going to be another one. Remember Jurassic World Dominion? And it's going to be the final one? No, there's going to be another one, I assure you. If there's money to be made, then it's going to. So, with Friday the 13th, the final chapter, that was the fourth in the series. It said the final chapter. It never called itself Part 4, anything like that. It just said the final chapter, as if they're actually going to kill him off this time. But, of course, that didn't happen. And then later in, 1993, came Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. And guess what? That still wasn't the final Friday the 13th. And what about the sixth Nightmare on Elm Street movie? Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. Guess what? That wasn't the end either. So, yeah. I mean, seriously, even Puppet Master did it, where it's like Puppet Master 5, the final chapter, and it still never was. Nothing is ever the final. Even Saw had the final chapter in the seventh movie's title. It still isn't the final one. Anyway, now that I got that off my chest, supposedly this might be the final Halloween movie for a good while, unless 2038 comes and they decide to, make the Halloween 50th anniversary or whatever. Now, obviously, I'm going to do the best I can not to spoil too much. I might spoil just a tiny bit, but it's just really hard not to, in order to describe exactly what's happening. I don't know. Well, what can I say about the film? I definitely think it was slightly better than the last film of Halloween Kills. The cast actually wasn't too bad, really, because it brought back like a couple of, of the characters from the last movie. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie, Andy Matichak. I apologize if I pronounced her name wrong, but basically plays as Allison, the granddaughter, and obviously Will Patton as Officer Hawkins from the last couple movies, and of course Kyle Richards, who played Lindsay Wallace in the first Halloween and even Halloween Kills. And it's kind of interesting to see her in there, but she barely even is there. And then we have a newcomer around here called a guy named Rohan Campbell, who plays Corey Cunningham. And this was a character I actually liked right here, but the thing is that like you're not expecting. It's like literally for like the first, I want to say half hour or so, we're too focused on the characters. Like Michael Myers doesn't make a new screen appearance until like way later in the movie. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I guess they wanted to focus more on the characters, like how they're dealing with all this stuff. But still, it's like really weird. And I guess technically these wouldn't exactly be spoilers, since you would see it in the trailer or if you've already seen the movie. But anyway, so we're focusing more on the characters here, and Michael Myers isn't given a whole lot of screen time in this. I think that's like the biggest flaw in this film, is the fact that Michael doesn't have enough screen time in this. I mean, it's kind of like the last one where he didn't have a whole lot of screen time because, they were trying to focus more on the townspeople and all that, but I don't know. Now, the one thing that is confusing, and you can even see this in the trailer to kind of find this out yourself, for some reason he's like, he basically vanished for 4 years since 2018, even since the last movie. And for some reason, rather than like staying at the Myers house or something like that, for some reason he's like Pennywise the Clown and decides to live in like an old, I can't even like think of the word of what it's described as, like a sewer hole or something like that. I don't know. It's basically like pipes and all this stuff. It literally looks like something came out of like Stephen King's It, basically. And of course, like don't get me wrong, that's interesting, I guess. But the whole thing is like, why is he there? Why is he just hiding there? What? Like, is this just a place that it feels safe or something like that? Or what? I just don't understand. See, this is the thing. It's like, with Halloween Ends, there's like a weird thing to it where it gives us some answers, but very little answered question. It gives us answers from the last one, but very little answers to questions we still have or new questions that they give us. They don't give any like answers to them at all. And we're just like left to like, well, why would he be there and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's really hard to describe, but again, it's one of those things where you would have to see the movies yourself or in all that in order to figure out what's going on. So yeah. But anyway, I do like the cast. I do like the characters. This is actually, even like the new character, this is someone that we intend to like, because he's been through kind of a hard time. If you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the rest of the movie down the line kind of goes in a really weird, dark path. Not necessarily in a bad way, of course, but it's just really hard. Again, I apologize. It's really hard for me to describe this movie without giving away spoilers, but I'm going to do the best I can. But it's really interesting to see how like the characters are kind of against each other, but they still like each other, or one's trying to help the other, and all this other different stuff is happening. One's realizing that he's seeing, they're seeing this in their eyes and all that. But yeah, now the only question is, how does this end? I'm sorry, but I just can't give that. I can't give it away, because like people have always been wondering, well, is Michael Myers still going to live, or is Michael going to die, or what, or what's going to happen? It's just one of those things where you would have to find out for yourself. Now, I will talk about like the previous deaths that Michael Myers has had before, like supposed deaths, obviously. With the second Halloween in 1981, they obviously tried to do the best to kill him off. At the very end by burning him to a literal crisp, and that's kind of obviously that's how they officially killed him off, and that's how they led to Halloween 3, which they wanted to do an anthology series with that. With the fourth one, he basically was shot down a mine shaft or whatever, like an abandoned mine shaft or some kind, or well, or whatever you want to call it. And supposedly presumed dead, which is kind of dumb, because he literally like shot in there, and he's been shot like how many times, stabbed how many times and all that, and he just like supposedly dead down the mine shaft? Yeah, sure. But of course, with the friggin' stupid ending of Part 4 doing that, that kind of threw it out the window when Part 5 came around. Then with Part 6, obviously there was like 2 different endings to this, with the producer's cut and the theatrical cut. With the producer's cut, it's like supposedly Michael is stopped by a bunch of stones on the floor, which is absolutely stupid, and then switched place with like his mentor or whatever you want to call it. But with the other cut, he's beaten to a pulp by Paul Rudd, but supposedly not dead at all. With Halloween H20, the ending to that was that Laurie Strode got him into the ambulance vehicle or whatever you want to call it, basically pinned him down to a tree in the vehicle and basically chopped his head off, and that was a satisfying enough ending. However, since there was money to be made on that, Halloween Resurrection basically killed off Laurie Strode, and Michael Myers basically switched out costumes, I guess you would say. So with that, and then at the end of the movie, he was burning alive again in his own house and presumed dead, and then in the morgue, oh look, he's not dead, he's still alive. And with the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, oh, who the hell knows? The first one, he's like shot point blank in the face, and there's like another alternate ending where he's shot multiple times or whatever and supposedly dead. And with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I don't even know. There's like one ending where he gets stabbed, and I think the unrated cut where he gets shot multiple times yet again, and I don't even, Now, with Halloween 2018, everyone presumed that he was dead yet again by burning in the house, but you didn't really see a body anywhere, so you had no idea. But of course, thanks to the Halloween Kills opening explanation of how he survived, it makes a lot of sense. Now, what would be the talk about this exactly with the whole future of the Halloween series? Like, would this be the final one for a good while? Will this be the last one ever? From what I've heard, will probably most likely be Jamie Lee Curtis's last Halloween movie. When she was killed off in Halloween Resurrection, supposedly putting an end to the films, basically, giving her own curtain call, her kind of a homage to her mother, Janet Leigh, how she was killed at the beginning of Psycho, something like that. But I feel that maybe it will be the last Halloween for a while. However, I still feel like it won't be the very last one. Because if there's money to be made, if there's a workaround they can do to bring him back somehow, or even make yet another rebooted sequel or whatever, they'll make it happen. There will be another Halloween, I assure you, and I'm fine with that. Honestly, I almost feel like that maybe if they did it right, they could make a TV series out of it, but then again, I don't know. Because Halloween is one of those, holiday seasons where it comes only once a day, once a year, and it's just maybe it would be better if it was just a movie or something like that. But what would if I were to make a Halloween movie, how would I do it? Honestly, I don't know. I'm more the kind of person who would like to actually take the whole anthology series from Halloween 3 in a mix and try to come up with something that... I mean, Trick or Treat did something like that, where they basically showed a whole bunch of different side stories in one whole entire movie, and I liked it for that. Now, what are my thoughts? What are my overall thoughts on Halloween Ends? I don't know, honestly. I think I liked it. I liked the characters. This did bring it to a, I guess you would say, satisfying enough conclusion to actually end this new Halloween trilogy since the first, because let's be completely honest, with the different movie timelines in the Halloween series, there never was a satisfying enough ending. With Halloween 6, it didn't really give off a closing ending, showing that they stopped Michael. He was still running around. Halloween Resurrection, there was going to be a another film supposedly to close it off, or just to continue the whole saga, or whatever you want to call it. But unfortunately, Mustafa Akkad, who was involved in all the Halloween films prior to Resurrection, was murdered in a bombing incident. Yeah, and I won't talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Those kind of conclude, but it's really confusing. But with this new Halloween trilogy, I guess you would say that this is a satisfying enough ending to basically close off the whole franchise, maybe. Obviously, it probably won't be the last Halloween film, but I feel like the way that they showed it, not only just of Michael's age, of how old he's getting and all that stuff, it might be the final one. Again, that's not to say it will be or won't be or whatever. I just think it was something satisfying enough to finally show a conclusive enough ending. But of course, it's one of those movies where it's like the trailer is definitely a lot better appealing to show more of what you wanted to see, as opposed to the actual film. Not to say it wasn't interesting. Like, it went in this sort of weird direction where you think it's going to go, but they did this before a couple different times, but it didn't. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. Again, I'm trying the best I can not to spoil too much, but this was definitely a film unlike any other of the Halloween movies I've seen. Not saying that was a bad thing. It's just a tad bit different. Went into a new direction. It kind of dropped it, and then they just concluded it. So, to be completely honest, I'm not really sure how to describe it or how I feel about it. Eventually, at the beginning of 2023, when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray and all that, I'll rewatch it again. But at the moment, I just don't know what to think about it. I think I enjoyed it, because I definitely feel like I did since the Halloween Kills. But it's a movie that it's just definitely one of those things where you need to see it for yourself. And if you enjoy it, then yeah, just go for it. Now, honestly, I don't know what else to say, really. I apologize for this being a short episode and all that, but, it's a review of a movie. And I'm trying to do the best I can not to show so many spoilers of it. But all I can say is that this was something that I thought was just okay. Thankfully not as horrendously boring or slightly bad as Halloween Kills, but it was alright. The music was pretty good. The characters were something that we rooted for. Unfortunately, Michael Myers, I feel like, didn't get enough screen time, kind of like the last movie in a way, but again, I know they tried to do something different with it, or they tried to hint at something, but never really took off anywhere because they literally tried to do this maybe 2-3 times or whatever, but it's fine. So yeah, that's my review for Halloween Ends right there. Not great, not bad, but I'm not sure. So yeah, since we're still in this whole spooky season and all that stuff, I'll try to think of something something else for another episode, hopefully in not too long, not too far ahead, hopefully around the corner I'll think of something else. So if you like this episode, please let me know. If you have any suggestions for what I might like to talk about or review, or another franchise I might want to talk about, let me know. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.